Hello everyone and welcome to another reaction on Peace Beats Films. I'm very excited to get into part 2 of the ultimate guide to Dimash, or the ultimate Dimash guide. Part 1 was absolutely fantastic, learnt a lot about him, and I'm really enjoying kind of experiencing this with you guys and, like talking in the chat about it and the kind of journey of kind of learning more about this very, very interesting musician who has very unique skills, so it's very interesting to kind of find out the history and development and progress and mindset behind those talents, so let's get straight into part 2 and see what we learn in this one and have a little chat about it.
Сопрано досым айтылды. Тек әнді кульминационный моментінде шарықтау шегіне жеткен кезінде әрлеу барысында пайдаланам. Мен кәдімгі тенормын. Тенор, бірақ диапазоным қазіргі таңда енді алда уақытта 5-ші октаваға дейін 5 октава болады.
Вообще же обычно закрепляется за певцом некая его амплуа, да, он баритон или он тенор. Вот кто ты?
Ну, когда как.
Димаш. Под настроение, да?
Сен дауыс көлемін қанша октава аласың деп. 5 октава, 6 октава. Ол 6 октавадан көп болуы мүмкін, бірақ ол мен үшін маңызды емес. Көрермендер үшін де ол маңызды емес деп білемін. Әнді ән ететін ол әнші, ал әншіні әнші ететін ол музыкалық талғам және ішкі сезім. Төменгі ноталардың қайсысын алып жатсаң да, жоғарғы ноталардың қайсысын алып жатсаң да, ол маңызды емес.
Бәрін үшірсің.
Маңыздысы әдемі орындау.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been my sentiment as I've learnt more about Dimash, listened to more of his music and kind of done reactions to them, is that initially it was like, wow, here's a singer who can hit notes on either end of the spectrum, has so many registers, so many ranges. And I think a lot of people would potentially listen to Dimash and think, oh, is it a bit of a gimmick that he's a sort of vocal magician, a vocal gymnast, an acrobat, a circus performer in a sense of like a singer who's able to do these incredible vocal gymnastics. But I soon realized it was far more than that, and the range and his vocal ability is actually a secondary factor compared to the passion and heart he puts into his singing and his songs and his performances. It's the feeling behind it. It's singing from the heart, and the vocal range he has is just a tool to kind of convey those more important things, and he has more power and control to be able to express himself further with his greater array of tools. Or in the last video, I think I used the analogy of paintbrushes. I'm not sure if that was in this video or another video, actually. I'm watching a lot of Dimash at the moment. I'm getting myself in a muddle, but I said that it's like, if you think of a singer as being an artist or a musician as an artist and having an array of paints, all these different sort of tones and colours, that, most artists have a certain amount of paint colours they can use in order to create a painting, whereas Dimash has a very, very broad range of colours that he can use, much broader than most, so he can paint more intricate pictures, or at least have more control of like how vast his painting wants to be when he sings, you know, to have that range, to have that palette to be able to draw from. It creates a greater expression, doesn't it? And I think that's what he's saying here for himself, is that yes, it's you know, all well and good that I can sing all these different ranges, all these different octaves, but that's actually not what's important. That's not what he wants to be seen as, and I think that makes a lot of sense, to not kind of pigeonhole yourself into, oh, I'm the guy who has 6 octaves, 7 octaves, 8 octaves, or whatever. You know, you don't want to just be that person and only be seen as that, because Dimash is much more than his vocal range. It's the passion and the heart where he sings from, you know, and that's what Dimash is all about. His message of peace and togetherness through his music, his mission that he has. To me, that's what really grabs me about Dimash and makes him a special and important musician, you know. Let's crack on.
Tell me, we have to talk about your vocal range. I mean, that's the first thing that everybody talks about when we bring up Dimash. So you have like 6 octaves and 2 semitones of vocal range, is that correct?
I just want to keep some secret about it, because when audience listen to my voice, I wanna show to them my feelings when I'm singing. Some vocal skills, vocal range, some facts about vocal range I think it's not most important thing. For singer, vocal range is not most important thing. It's just like a good bonus, you know. Most important thing is you're singing from your heart. Most important thing you're feeling when you're singing, and the vocal design. And your idea, musical ideas, is most important things.
Төменгі нота қайсысы?
Есімде жоқ, әр кезде әртүрлі.
Әр кезде әртүрлі. Ал жоғарғы?
Әр кезде әртүрлі. Дауыс диапазоны қанша? 6 октава, 5 октава, 6 октава деп айтып жатқанда, мен оған аса мән бермесе екен деймін. Ол тек қана менің құралым. Менің басты мақсатым адамды мына күнделікті өмірден сәл алыстатып, бір ойдан құрастырылған дүниеге апарып келсем деген.
I love that. I would be interested to know how different his vocal range is from time to time, because it's an interesting thing. I work sometimes as a voiceover artist, so I narrate audiobooks and radio dramas and things like that. And with audiobooks, you can be recording them over a long period of time, sometimes even like 6 months, all the way up to a year. Sometimes you can be working on the same book. And then you have to go back and do drop-ins sometimes. You need to re-record a sentence that you recorded months ago. And to try and make your voice sound the same is very, very difficult, because what time of day did you record that vocal? What did you eat that day? Did you have coffee that day? Did you eat any cheese that day or milk? Because that's going to have a massive impact on what your voice sounds like. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people would consider, because why would you, unless you had to scrutinize the sound of your voice in the way a singer or a voiceover artist has to. So I can imagine there would be standard factors like that that would affect Dimash's singing voice, such as diet, how much sleep he got, and you know, how much had he been talking or singing the day before, and things like that. Have you ever found that sometimes if you have an evening where you're talking, like a social event, and the next day your voice is much deeper, you're able to go lower, you know, you're able to kind of expand your vocal range somewhat through these different things. So I would consider those like standard changes in what a vocalist could kind of do. But when it comes to range, generally they are pretty set on what your top note is. So I'd be interested to know further, what does he really mean when he says always different? Are we talking Are we talking a couple of semitones sometimes, lower or higher? Are we talking an octave? You know, like how different is it? And how does that affect his live performances? Is he kind of getting there one day and being like, oh, I can't sing this song today, it's out of my range today? I would imagine that he kind of keeps his vocals within a sort of a, you know, a kind of umbrella of like high and low where he feels safe, but he goes really, really high and really low. So I don't know. I don't know. I just kind of picked up on that and thought that was quite an interesting thing to say, and, you know, to think about what that really means. It's very interesting, isn't it? Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'd also be interested to know like what his diet is in terms as a vocalist, because he is somebody so on point. You know, I think they talked in the last one about him running and singing at the same time, singing lying on his back, singing sitting down, training his lungs in all these different ways. And I wonder, I would imagine he probably has some kind of nutritionist as well who, you know, he probably has a specific diet where he can't eat certain things or has to eat or drink certain things, you know, manuka honey and things like that that are good for the voice, or and things to avoid like coffee. I'd be interested to know what his kind of diet is in that sense and how that affects his voice. If anybody knows, that would be cool.
Өзім ұнатқан музыкалық бағыт ол сәл өзгеше, ол поп жанрында жатқызуға болмайды, оны опера жанрында жатқызуға болмайды. Өйткені неоклассика, кроссовер деген бағытты дамыту, өзімді сол бағытта сынап көру үстіндемін.
Бұл әндермен танымал болу өте қиын ғой.
Өте қиын. Мне кажется, что я пока молодой, я должен экспериментировать, развиваться в разных направлениях. И в классике, к сожалению, нет таких моментов, где ты можешь от себя что-то добавить, вставить какие-то импровизации или какие-то такие моменты. Я хочу импровизировать, я хочу добавлять от себя что-то. Время от времени я стараюсь и там петь, и там петь.
То есть вы как-то стараетесь совмещать?
Да, можно это делать. Five years ago, I described it just like neoclassic style, but right now I think, of course, still neoclassic style, but I love to sing in all kind of music. I want to show my pop vocalist skills and sometimes rock vocalist skills, and sometimes I'm doing rap on the stage. I want to try to sing in all kind of styles.
This is very interesting, and this is something quite special about Dimash, because his success and everything with him, it's about him as a person and him as a singer rather than him as a genre, which most artists are almost categorized genre first before them as individuals. And, you know, if an artist is an acoustic singer-songwriter and then they put out a rock album, they would say, oh, they've changed genres, they've done this, they've done the big genre change, massive change. Whereas with Dimash, I don't think that would really be the case, because it's him as a singer, and the whole point is he's going to explore his entire vocal range. And I think anybody who listens to Dimash is going to be like prepared for that and open to that. And it's very difficult as a musician not to allow yourself to be pigeonholed into a genre. It's difficult when you're training as a musician. You always feel like you have to pick one, you know, and I always kind of found myself in my journey as a musician, I loved everything. And one month I wanted to be in a grunge band, the next month I wanted to do jazz, the next month I wanted to do like hippie singer-songwriter music, the next month I wanted to do like drum and bass, then I wanted to do metal, like punk, and it was always changing, ever changing. And that's why I decided to go down the route of being a composer, because it's not classical composition that's my main lane as a composer, it's soundtrack composition. And what that means is it's every genre of music can be involved, because you don't know what the brief is going to be and you have to know all of it. And that's really exciting to me, is to be able to go into any genre. If you're doing a soundtrack to something that needs like metal music in it, you're going to need to know about metal. You might do something that needs to be fully orchestral and very classical, you know? You need to be kind of open to everything, and that's what excites me about it. And you get these kind of, it's not everybody that feels that way. I think most people are more kind of, they love reggae, and that's it. Maybe they listen to a bit of ska, but it's reggae, and they live and breathe that genre. Whereas Dimash is more of a mind of music. It's a love of music, you know, and there's no musical style that is bad. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't agree with that sentiment at all of like, oh, this genre sucks. It just can't be that way. Music is music, and you know, music is just different levels of good, right? You know, from good to amazing, and I think that's something that draws me to Dimash also, is how open he is to kind of cross over into all genres, and the freedom he has to explore that without any restrictions on himself that other singers may have, because maybe they put out a single that was a pop single and their record label or whoever's around them or the radios or whatever won't let them do anything else. It's just like, well, why are you giving us this rock song? It needs to follow this song, it needs to be pop, it needs to be what you did before, and you need to stay in your lane and keep doing that. Whereas Dimash does not have those restrictions or constraints on him at all. He can just do whatever he likes creatively, and I think that's very exciting, and it's a very, very exciting journey to go down, because you never know where it's going to lead in the future, you know? Is he going to start doing loads of jazz and swing and big band? Is he going to be a crooner? Is he going to be, you know, go down the more sort of Frank Sinatra kind of route? Like, it's all at his fingertips, and I think that's very just exciting, you know?
Мына полифония, сонатина, соната, этюдтар деп айтып жатады ғой. Сондай дүниелерді болашақта жазып көргім келеді. Оны жазу үшін мен алдымен музыкалық тұрғыда біліктілігімді арттырып алу керекпін, барынша. Өйткені бұл саланы ластауға болмайды. Бұл салаға немқұрайлы қарауға болмайды. Әлем салғанмен бірдей ғой, ән шығарған. Мысалы, музыкалық продюсирование деген ұғым бар. Музыкалық, мен өзімнің репертуарымдағы әндерді құрылымын, ән құрылымын, бас салуын, субтонда, және де дамуы, развитие, ортаңғы бөлігі, және де соңғы бөлігі, кульминация деп айтады, шарықтау шегі. Соның бәрін өзім құрастырам, ортасында аспаптық мелодия жолдары керек болса, бұрыннан бастап, жасөспірім кезімнен бастап, әрбір сахнаға алып шығып жатқан, көрерменнің назарына ұсынып жатқан дүниелерімді өзім сүзгіден өткізем. Мысалы айта кететін болсақ, осы уақытқа дейінгі қатысқан байқауларымның әндерін өзім таңдап, оның өрлеуі қандай бағытта болу керек, жалпы айтқанда музыкалық продюсерлік жұмыс деп аталады. Қай композитор болмасын ән ұсынса, оны міндетті түрде менің өңдеуіммен ғана болады.
сол кезде ғана орындаймын. Және де мысалы I'm Singer жобасында да барлық әндерді өзім продюсерлік еткем. Тамаша талантты Ерлан Бекчурин деген Оралдың азаматы бар. Сол ағамыз аранжировкасын жасаған болатын. Менің ойларыма сүйене отырып
оны аз-маз шығарам, содан кейін соны ән өрлеуші досым, менің тамаша ағам Ерлан Бекчурин деген ағама үлкен рахмет айтқым келеді. Сол жігіт менің тапсырысымды қалай ойлаймын, дәл сол қазалпында шығарып береді. Оған үлкен шеберлік керек деп ойлаймын.
And it's really nice that he has a close friend who has that skill set that he can work with, because, you know, if you have a producer, if you're an artist, a singer, songwriter, you know, guitarist, whatever you are, if you have a best mate or a really good friend that is a really good producer, that's a match made in heaven. If you guys can come together, because it can be difficult to have the full set of skills. Production is a whole other side to music creation, you know, all the technicalities of it, of understanding compression and EQ and how to control reverb, delay, chorus, all these effects, mastering, all these things. It's a lot to learn. It takes years and years and years. So if you have somebody who they've chosen to master that, and you've mastered the music and composition side, that is a match made in heaven. And if you have a special relationship where you know how to communicate with each other through that, that is extremely important, because you can have these ideas in your head of what you want, but it's not always easy to get it across to somebody exactly what that is. And you find yourself saying things like, I need that bass to be warmer, more orange, that bass sound, those frequencies. And if they know what you mean and go, do you mean like this? And they fiddle with the EQ and the compressor and they play it back, and it's like, yes, that's exactly what I had in my mind. And so it can be a really beautiful thing to have a friendship like that, where you can both complement each other. And when there's crossover as well, where the artist has an understanding of production enough to fully understand what the producer is doing, and the producer has enough of an understanding of music to fully understand what the artist is doing, and then they just kind of come together, overlap, and create a solid unit that is able to create masterpieces. And I believe that's what Dimash has here, and it's yeah, it's a really wonderful thing to see when that happens, rather than kind of getting paired up with somebody. You may not get on with them, you may not communicate right with them. It's a very intimate thing, creating music together. So to have that initial friendship there, and that kind of brotherhood, sisterhood connection, whatever it is that you have, it's, you know, it's a wonderful thing.
Көптеген Уолтер Афанасьев сынды Қытайдағы, Еуропадағы көптеген композиторлердің жұмыстарын орындағанда да, соның ішінде Игорь Крутой ағамыздың да әндерін орындағанда да, бәрі менің талабым бойынша орындалатын. Мен қалай айтам, қалай орындалу керек, қалай жазылу керек, қандай үлгіде, қандай бағытта шығу керек, ол ән, оны өзім талаптанып орындатқызатынмын. Және де клип түсіргенде де дәл солай. Әрине, кәсіби мамандардың ойына сүйенемін, олардың көзқарасын, кәсіби білікті көзқарасына көзім саламын. Бұл нәрсеге жетекшілікті талантым тасып баратқаннан кейін алған жоқпын. Тұрақсыздық бойынша, халық пен халықтың араздығы бойынша көп уайымдайтын тұғым. 25 жасымда бастап 3 жыл қатарынан жазған туындым менің және де сіздердің алдарыңызда, халықтың алдында, әлем жұртшылығының алдында осы позициямды пайдаланып, естір құлақ болса, естір деген ниетпен бейбітшілікке үндеу тастау үшін осы шығарманы жазған болатынмын. Оны басқа біреудің еншісіне беріп қойып, немесе басқа біреу клипті қалай түсірсе де солай түсіре берсін деп беріп қоюға менің дәтім шыдамады, сөздің шыны керек. Сол себептен бұл әннің әуенін жаздым және де бейне клиптің сценарийін жазған болатынмын. Шығарманың аты The Story of One Sky.
Yeah, and I think it used to be the way things worked is you were a songwriter and then you got signed to a label and you would write the song and then there'd be a team who did your music video. They told you what it was going to be. Maybe you'd get some amount of input, but really you're going to get told what to do unless you have a lot of control, a lot of power over that. But I feel like those days are more and more behind us now, and it's so great to see artists have full control over their music videos. You know, that's what it should be, you know, like you shouldn't limit yourself or put yourself in a box of, oh, it's a musician, they can't direct a film. Look, if you have creativity in you, creativity is one thing, I believe, in the brain that can be transferred into different lanes. So if you are really good at music, it's not going to take you as long as somebody who's never practiced anything creative to become a filmmaker. It's not going to take you as long to become a voiceover artist or to become a painter, or whatever creative discipline it is, your creative brain is trained. So it's no wonder that Dimash is able to move on to different creative things. Or you see this a lot, like it's like, oh, they're an actor, oh, and they can sing as well. Oh, of course, how many talents have they got? Well, of course they can. You know, they're being creative all the time, and putting all your creativity into one lane doesn't mean that it's all used up. Oh, I've used up all my creativity on painting, I can't learn guitar now. It's not the way it works. It's you're using that part of your brain, and that can transfer anywhere. So it's good to see people like Dimash being aware of that and not putting any restrictions or letting anybody else tell you that you can't, because you absolutely can transfer those skills. It's kind of like, if you're a musician, that's like learning Taekwondo, right? And then making a film is boxing. Now, as a black belt in Taekwondo, you're going to pick up boxing a lot quicker, you know. So they transfer. You know what I mean? It's these skills, creative skills, they transfer easily one to the next. All you're doing is learning new tools. Instead of sound, it might be light, and they work in different ways. So as a photographer, as a videographer, as a filmmaker, a cinematographer, your understanding of creative things will transfer beautifully from one discipline to the next. So I'm so glad that Dimash is using all these things, is in control of all these things, in control of the performance, in control of how the songs come together in their arrangements, control of the music video, the screenplay, the writing, you know what I mean? Every aspect of it, he is taking the lead on and not letting anybody else come along and tell him, this is what you need to be doing. He's got faith in himself, trust in himself and his talent to move forward in all of these beautiful things he's doing. I just think that's really, really awesome.
вы же мультиинструменталист, человек, который
Да,
играет
говорят.
на место.
Нет,
Неправда,
нет,
что ли? Давайте проверим. Почему? По-моему, вы не мультиинструменталист.
Нет, я не мультиинструменталист, честно признаться. Так говорят.
Ага.
Но я играю на многих инструментах, но как играю? Так, просто.
Вот так вот.
Да.
Как только что.
Это не очень хорошая игра у меня получается. Просто так, там, 4-5 аккордов на гитаре и пару приемов на барабанах. На дамбре
Feel like he's just being a bit humble here, to be honest. He's like, oh, I can play a little bit of instruments. That was really good. That was the dombre, yes. I desperately want to play one of those, and I'm going to make a pledge now, right? Unless there is an incredibly good reason, on this channel you will see me go to Kazakhstan and I'm going to jam on one of those instruments. I'm going to go over there, I want somebody to teach me a little bit, and I want to have a little jam like that. I really, really want to try it out. So stay tuned for that. It might be early next year, to be fair. It might not be this year. But I really, 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 really want to learn to play that. It sounds so cool, just like a 2-string, but it's got such a great sound. Ooh.
на клавише. поверхностно, не как профессионал. Для того, чтобы очень хорошо играть и быть настоящим мультиинструменталистом, надо работать и надо учиться к этому всю жизнь. А я учился. Қазіргі таңда енді концерттерде билеп жүрмін, бірақ сөздің ашығына келгенде басқа әншілер секілді биді тез меңгеріп кете алмаймын. Ол маған үлкен жұмыспен келетін дүние, сол себептен өзімді жақсы билейтіндердің қатарына жатқызу өте қиын.
Енді әр әнге қойылым ойлап табамыз, әр шығарманың өзінің мазмұны бар, өзінің философиясы бар. Егер де ән соны талап етіп тұратын болса, міндетті түрде соған хореографтармен әдемі нақышына келіп, биді қойып, соны нақышына келтіріп билеуге тырысып жатамын. Енді бұрындары маған сөзіншіні керек, осыдан 10 жыл бұрын немесе 7-8 жыл бұрын биді маған біраз ауырға соғатын. Бірақ енді қазір сол уақыттан бері біраз тәжірибе жинадым. Енді бір билер қалайтын болса, әрине бәріне дайынмын.
He can really move though, can't he, to be fair? I think with the multi-instrumentalists and the dancing parts there, he's very humble, and I think it's the only way to be, really, but from the outside, I would call him a multi-instrumentalist and I would call him a dancer, you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you? It's but it's not one of those things you kind of want to say yourself. Firstly, you don't want the scrutiny of somebody kind of, you know, like I don't know, people can be, but yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to be a master of an instrument to say that you are able to play it, you know? And I think the way he can play drums, the way he can play dombra, the way he can play piano, he's a pianist, you know? Like he can play, he's a drummer, he can play. You don't need to be a master of something, in my opinion, to be able to sort of attach that to your identity. You know, if you enjoy doing it as well, and if it's a part of you, then it is. And it's a bit of a classical kind of mindset of that sort of mastering of something. But I respect how humble he is being about himself and not wanting to sort of come across as very egotistical. Oh yes, I'm a multi-instrumentalist, I can play anything, you know. That wouldn't come across very well. But in reality, I think he is a multi-instrumentalist and he is a really, really good dancer. It's just, sometimes you've just got to let other people say these things for you, right? You know, I kind of feel that's what's, well, I don't know, he may really feel that way, like that's his view of kind of mastering something. But I would say he's very good at all these things.
You sing in how many languages? That's also amazing.
More than 12 or more than 13, I don't remember. Yes.
I don't know if I can even say like 13 languages, like to just make a list of 13 languages and you know how to sing 13.
You know, if I like that song, for me it doesn't matter in which language. I can learn it. Yes, I'm trying to do my best for learn it because of music.
Now that's an interesting one, because in choral singing, operatic singing, it's quite common to sing in any given language. And even if you're doing like fantasy or something like that, let's say you have the choir for Lord of the Rings, they have to learn how to sing in Elven, you know, like it's kind of part of it to sing in different languages. But I think doing it as a choir is one thing, doing it by yourself, I wonder if he, like, in terms of speaking languages, how many does he speak? is it a case of learning like the vowels and the sounds and kind of recreating a song in a different language, or is he having like a tutor come in and teach him how to speak, you know, in this language? Is he learning these words and getting them down perfectly and singing them, or is he recreating the sounds of those languages? There's a very interesting kind of difference there, because if you're singing solo, you really need to be convincing. You can't go to a French crowd and sing French and it not be perfect, because you will be scrutinized for that. You cannot go to an Italian crowd and sing in Italian and it not be perfect. So it's kind of at a different level, isn't it? Whereas if you had a choir singing in Italian and they've practiced a lot, it's going to pass. It's going to be a lot easier to kind of be palatable to an Italian ear, a choir singing in Italian who don't speak Italian, than a solo artist going up and singing by themselves and singing in Italian. So I'd be interested to learn more here about what his process actually is when it comes to singing in other languages, and how that differs from the norm, and like what is he kind of doing differently, and what extra steps is he taking there to actually pull it off with such accuracy and precision in the way he is, because that's a serious thing to sing in 15 different languages. That's very, very, very impressive, and I would be intrigued to know more about how he's kind of got there. You know what I mean?
На первую тоже, да, с вибрацией?
Да, желательно с вибрацией. И потом, вот где последняя нота у вас, вы можете качнуть ее. Так, что-то. Да. Да, примерно.
At first, I thought the duduk. I thought that the duduk was him. I was like, what?
Точно так же, но только там.
Только больше пропеть.
Oh wow.
Да.
That was incredible, and I mean, you as a singer, your voice is your instrument, but like you're kind of limited on normal instruments. Depending on what they are, different instruments are more dynamic than others. So like guitar is a very dynamic instrument. You can make a lot of different sounds with a guitar through strumming, through sliding, through hammer. You know, you can kind of imitate other instruments somewhat, but not really. So maybe if I were playing guitar and I was playing with a trumpet player and I was like, can you play ba-da-ba-ba-ba or something? Oh, that was McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, that's better. And then I can kind of play that, and then they can play it on the trumpet. But to actually be able to go, wah, 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 you know, to like be able to imitate a trumpet, that's such a brilliant skill to be able to imitate an instrument when working with other instrumentalists, to just go, can you make it more like this, and then do it, you know? That's really is really, really something. And as I was kind of saying before about when it comes to communication with other creatives, as in like a musician working with a producer, a singer working with instrumentalists, for a singer to be able to imitate the sounds of the instrument for the instrumentalist, that's going to save a lot of time in communication through words, you know, to just be able to do it. So that is a fantastic composition skill to have in terms of writing music for anything. If you're writing orchestral music and if you can make the sounds of a cello or violin or whatever, it's going to be a much easier process for you to get it down and to get it notated. Absolutely fantastic. And the sound of it as well on that stage, it really did sound real, didn't it? Like, it's very interesting. You should check out a beatboxer called Beardy Man live at the Proms. He goes on at the Proms at the Royal Albert Hall, and he's a beatboxer, but he was making sounds of violins and cellos and basses and trumpets and all sorts, and it was absolutely fantastic, and it really showed the potential of what can be done with this kind of skill that Dimash has. And I'd be interested to see Dimash do more of this, these kind of vocal instrumentations, you know, maybe with loop pedals or something like that, or kind of layer them up. I wonder what Dimash could do if he were to compose a song using solely his voice. That would be very interesting for a vocalist like Dimash. If you think of Bobby McFerrin, who wrote Don't Worry Be Happy, and if you listen to that song, you kind of forget if you haven't heard it recently, but there's no instruments in that. It's all his voice. It's all him making all the sounds of you know, all the percussion and everything. It's all him. And I would be interested to see Dimash kind of do that and create a piece where there's no instruments at all. It's just purely his voice. So he does all the instrumentation, then sings over it. I think that would be a really beautiful creation that he could make there. Big shout out to Leela C. Another fantastic Dimash guide. Part 2 was incredible. I thoroughly enjoyed that from beginning to end. It gave me a lot of food for thought, a lot to think about. My mind is going 10 to the dozen thinking about things from all the different things that were brought up in that. And yeah, very, very interesting stuff. And yeah, I can see why this guide is the sort of most beloved guide on the internet for Dimash. It's so comprehensive. It's absolutely brilliant. So subscribe to Leela C if you haven't already. Head over to their channel. I will put their channel in the description so you can find it in there. Hit subscribe and head over to their channel as well. Put a like on the original video. Give them a big thank you. Send some love. Because they have done an absolutely incredible job. So thank you, Leela C. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reacting to part 3. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy my reaction videos, if you want to see me go to Kazakhstan in the future, hit subscribe on this channel. I will be making original music documentaries as well as reacting to existing documentaries. If you'd like to see my reactions from more of the perspective of a composer, my main channel is Peace Beats with Dan Blackwell. The link for that will be in the description as well. Or you can just search Peace Beats with Dan Blackwell. That's my main channel. And I'm speaking more from the position of a musician and composer rather than filmmaker, though I must say I have had my composer hat on through most of this reaction, to be fair, rather than filmmaker, if I'm being honest. But it's, as I said before, it's all kind of one and the same in a sense. Creativity is creativity, and you know, I'm going to talk about whatever I think about, really. And yeah, onwards and upwards with the journey of discovering more and more about Dimash. Thanks again, everybody. Take care. Peace and love.